a few points that apply. Tell me to go away, just go, right? No idea. I'm going to go. Okay, go ahead. Hello, I'm Anna Froling, a member of the League of Women Voters, Rochester, and I would like to welcome all of you tonight, the candidate, the audience, and those viewing at a later time, to this forum sponsored by the League of Women Voters, Rochester. We'd also like to thank our generous partners of tonight's forum, the Rochester Post-Bulletin, the Rochester Area of Commerce, and the Rochester Public Library. LWV is a volunteer organization active at the local, state, and national level to encourage citizens to participate in government. While we, as a league, do study and take stands on issues, we never endorse or oppose political parties or candidates. The views are expressed in this forum are those of the candidate, not those of LWV, or the candidates, not those of LWV Rochester or any partner or sponsor of this forum. and the sponsorship of the forum is not an endorsement of any candidate. It is our purpose in sponsoring this forum to provide you with the opportunity to hear from the candidates and to discuss face-to-face issues that are important to you. Tonight's questions have come from LWV Rochester, the Post-Bulletin, the Chamber of Commerce, and the members of the audience. You are welcome to submit as many written questions for the candidate as you like. Just hold up the cards as you finish them, and a league volunteer will collect them throughout the forum. If you are watching the live stream, you may email questions to lwvrochester@lwvmn.org. Tonight's volunteers who are managing the questions are also league members. Questions that are unclear, hostile, or of a personal nature will not be used. Questions that fall in the same general area may be consolidated to allow the moderator to cover as many topics as possible in the time allotted. We appreciate questions that are forward-looking rather than a review of past issues. If the answer was unclear to you, feel free to submit a follow-up question or to ask the candidate after the forum. Cards become the property of the LWV Rochester. As there is never enough time to cover all the issues in a limited time setting such as this, please feel free to contact the candidate's campaign headquarters directly if your questions are not addressed tonight. We'd like to thank all candidates for running for office, for offering to serve their community, and for the enormous amount of time, dedication, and commitment that running and serving demand. We encourage our members as individuals, and as we encourage each of you to get involved in your community and the political party of your choice. Welcome to tonight's forum, which includes the candidates for City Council, Ward 1. Candidates for the seat are Andy Hemingway, Patrick Keene, and Daniel Sapita. All viable candidates have been asked to participate in the forum. 2 were not able to attend, but they have both submitted opening statements, which will be read by Ginny Amundsen, our candidate forum chair. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to offer an opening statement. The candidate will then respond to questions provided by LWV, this evening's partners, and by the audience. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer, and the candidate will then have 2 minutes to do a closing statement. I would like to suggest to the candidate that you make answers as succinct as possible. It isn't necessary to use the entire minute for your answer, but please finish your sentence when the time is up. We would like to cover as many questions as possible. I would like to remind the audience to remain quiet during the forum, hold your applause until the end of the forum, and to turn off all electronic devices. The timekeepers tonight are LWV Rochester member Jan Strand and Chris Pavick. Questions will be screened by LWV Rochester members Mary Jones and Kathy Magerlein. Asking questions will be Randy Peterson from the Post-Bulletin and Ryan Parsons from the Chamber of Commerce. Candidates will begin with their opening statement, and I will have Jenny Amundsen, candidate forum chair, read the, first of all, you'll start with Hemingway. Is that correct? Candidate Hemingway. So go ahead.
So this letter was received from Andy Hemingway. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters regarding the upcoming scheduled forums. I regretfully have to decline due to a previously planned family vacation and wedding located out of state. I do not take this lightly, hence I wanted to reach out and let you know that I am dedicated to Ward 1 residents and Rochester as a whole. I am also dedicated to my family, and as we all know, we get to spend very little time with the ones we love in this busy, fast-paced world. It's good to slow down and enjoy family sometimes. I am dedicated to the people of our community. About revitalizing and preserving Rochester's mission statement of community pride, this can only be attained through ongoing actions to improve public safety, maintain clean, friendly parks and trails, provide reliable transportation options, preservation of city landmarks and green space, and develop an affordable, year-round, family-accessible community center. These are just a few of the goals that I plan on working on while representing Ward 1. Again, thank you for taking the time to arrange these forums so that our community can familiarize themselves with each candidate. I will also be out introducing myself to my Ward 1 neighbors in the coming months to discuss and familiarize myself with their local concerns. Thank you.
And now we will hear the opening statement for candidate Keene. And again, Ginny Amundsen will read this.
So this was received from Patrick Keene. Good evening. My name is Patrick Keene. First, let me thank our hosts for this evening. You are helping connect candidates to the voters, and that is the hardest part of running for office. Let me introduce myself. I came to Minnesota 44 years ago for both schooling and for work. I have an undergraduate degree in computer science and a technical MBA from the University of Minnesota. I purchased my Ward 1 home in 1985, where my wife Lori and I still live. My wife and I raised our 3 adult children in Rochester, and they are now off taking responsibility for themselves and for others. As parents, we took full advantage of the many opportunities offered in this community. We used the public schools. We participated in sporting, scouting, and educational programs offered across the community. Our kids have all settled in Minnesota, and we have 6 grandchildren. In my younger years, my community engagement was youth coaching, school volunteering, and also church leadership work. Closer to retirement, I got more involved with the city and the county, and also some nonprofit organizations like the YMCA. I am also an active member of our local Morning Pride Lions Club. Rochester's been a great city for my wife and for me. I've enjoyed my time on council, and I've learned quickly how to contribute towards an efficient, livable city as we work through the many issues that will come up. As an incumbent, I run on my record, but I also realize that most Ward 1 residents do not follow the week-to-week business of the city, so I appreciate these opportunities offered tonight. I so regret not being able to be with you tonight. To learn more about my campaign, please review www.keenforward1.com, that is Keane forward, the number 1.com, or call directly with issue questions to 507-259-2870. Thank you.
Thank you, Ginny. And now we will hear the opening statement from candidate Cepeda. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Dan Cepeda. I have been working in the field of community service for the last 25 years. I have worked in community corrections, and I worked with guys coming out of jails and prisons, helping them acclimate back into society, also helping them work through whatever barriers they needed to overcome to get back into society. I have worked with judges, I have worked with POs, I have worked with county attorneys, I have worked with homeless, I have worked with all the whole gamut of people, connecting them and making this work. I would like to continue this work in serving on Rochester City Council. There are 3 things that I want to touch on. Fiscal responsibility. I think we can do better with the budgets. I think we can do better with how we are spending your money. And then transparency. It seems like there is not a great deal of transparency. As Patrick Keene stated in his letter, there seems to be a little bit of a disconnect with the citizens, but nonetheless, it is my plan to be the voice of the people in Ward 1.
Thank you. So now we're going to move on to questions, and I expect that we will not take up the full hour tonight, but we'll start with a league question, and the question is, should the city be taking steps to reach net zero 2030 and work towards a more sustainable future?
Absolutely. So I think that that is definitely something that we should be working towards.
Okay. And now we will have the question from Randy Peterson of the Post Bulletin.
Required state approval to extend the city's 0.5% local sales tax hasn't been received. Therefore, it likely won't be up for a vote this year. With the current sales tax set to end in 2024, will you support a potential second effort to extend that tax?
I'm not sure that I would. I think that what we need to do is we need to work towards cutting taxes. I don't think that the budget should be on the backs of the citizens. I mean, we, as citizens, we have to live within our own budgets, and I think that that the City Council needs to do the same.
Thank you. Our next question will be from the Chamber, the Rochester Chamber of Commerce, and Ryan Parsons. I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, Daniel. You had mentioned fiscal responsibility. Luckily, I talk loud, so that worked out pretty well. You had mentioned fiscal responsibility in your opening comment. So with that in mind, what is a priority you believe is essential to the financial stability of Rochester moving forward? And what strategies do you recommend to encourage that potential stability and future community development?
So the first thing we need to do is we need to take a look at the budget. And like I said, in our own homes, I mean, we're in the process of recovering. And so all of us, whether it be the city government, whether it be us families, small businesses. And so we're all in the process of recovering. And as such, we have to tighten our belts. I think that in the City Council, there we need to tighten the belt there as well. We need to cut back on spending.
Thank you. So now we're going to move on to audience questions, and we'll have about 4 or 5 audience questions to begin with. This is about DMC. What should the next steps be for the Destination Medical Center to benefit all people in our community?
The next step as far as the DMC is concerned, once again, is to take a closer look at how much money is being spent. I think that, as I stated before, people are being lost in the with what the DMC is doing and where they're spending the money, how much money they're spending, and people are just losing sight of what exactly the DMC is doing. So I think that we need to rein in the spending there.
Thank you. Another question from the audience, and this is about city property. What do you think about the proposal to turn Soldiers Field Golf Course into a mixed-use commercial, residential, car-free space? And there's something in here about following the river. So that's the question about...
It's dedicated to veterans. Are you insane?
Sir?
Soldiers Field is dedicated to our veterans.
Sir, this is about this is of the Soldiers Field Golf Course, and I'll ask you not to interrupt again, please.
I think that Soldiers Field should probably be left alone. It has been there for many years, and it has served a really good purpose in terms of recreation and business meetings and these types of things. So I think that Soldier Field, the golf course, should be left alone.
Okay, thank you. And we will move on to a question about city property again. And I'm taking my time asking the questions to give you a little time. The city has a lot of properties that are unused, like the Chateau and the Old Dooleys. What do you propose the city do with these properties?
There are a lot of areas in which we could be using these properties. One of the things that has been discussed is there isn't a great deal of things to do for the 18 to 30-year-olds. And we could be finding avenues, whether we use these movie houses for movies, showcasing various genres of movies. I think that we could be using these properties for the benefit of the people in the community. We could be using them for helping the homeless, giving them a place to stay, a place to warm up, these kinds of things.
Thank you again. Now we're going to ask a question about taxes. Many people feel that our local taxes are too high. What can be done to address this concern?
We need to take a look at the budget, and we need to cut wherever we can. I would agree that the taxes are too high, and so we need to take a look at the budget, and we need to cut.
Okay, thank you. Another question from the audience, and those last few were from the audience. City culture. How will you promote Rochester as a more inclusive environment for all, including LGBTQ and Bipoc people?
I think Rochester is already doing a good job of being very inclusive to all people. I think that we would just continue doing what we're doing now. Yeah.
And I'm going to ask one more question from the audience, and then we will go to the Post Bulletin and the Chamber of Commerce. This was a question just turned in, and it's about the budget. And what this audience member is asking, what do you want to cut in the budget?
Well, I don't know what we would cut in the budget. I know that public safety is not something that we would cut. But there are lots of other programs, lots of other things in there that I believe we could. I mean, we have to. Again, as a citizen of Rochester, when I come on hard times, there are things I have to cut out of my budget. And as such, I think that the city of Rochester needs to do the same.
Thank you, candidate Cepeda. I'm now going to turn it over to our Post Bulletin, Randy Peterson.
Thank you. The future of the Rochester Public Library has been discussed in recent years with no decision related to a direction forward, whether to remodel or create a new library. What would you like to see for the future of the library?
Could you repeat the question?
The future of Rochester's Public Library has been discussed in recent years with potentials for remodeling, revisions, or building a new library or other options. What would you like to see for the future of the library?
I actually use the library myself. You know, I think we have a great facility here. If something works, you leave it alone. I think that we have a great facility here. I think that it serves many purposes, and I think we just leave it alone.
Thank you. Now we'll turn it over to Ryan Parsons and a question from the Chamber of Commerce.
So we've had an opportunity to talk about some short-term priorities here this evening. Let's take a moment to look further ahead. So as you look 4 or 5 years out, what do you believe is something that the city of Rochester could get ahead of? What's a future priority that there would be a good time to prep for at this moment?
I think that first and foremost, again, I don't want to belabor, but the point is we need to cut the budget, and I think that we need to bring that back. And so, some other things that we need to take a look at in terms of looking towards the future. How are we addressing homeless? How are we addressing low-income housing? these kinds of things. I think that, again, as a city, we could partner with a lot of organizations to help bring about some things here that could definitely benefit a lot of people. We're looking at trying to increase the population, and as such, we're going to need to take a look at the housing as well.
Thanks. Candidate Cepeda, I'm going to have a question from the League. How would you seek advice from a broad range of constituents and work with other public bodies?
That is actually a great question. And that's one of the things that I will plan to continue to do in my campaign, and that is talking with people across all spectrums. I think that I can learn a lot from people, especially people who don't hold the same view as me. In fact, in my years of experience, I have learned that a lot of good advice that I have gained came from the most unlikely sources. I would almost say adversarial. Yet, nonetheless, I can learn from other people, so I would be reaching across the whole gamut of people.
Okay, thank you. A couple more audience questions, and then I think we'll do the League and the Post Bulletin and the Chamber again. This one has to do with recreation. Do you support 3 outdoor pools and 4 golf courses?
Say that again.
So this has to do with recreation.
Yep.
And so do you support 3 outdoor pools and 4 golf courses?
Yeah. Again, we have a lot of people in this town, and again, we're increasing the population. That is the idea, and so, yes, I would support that.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to ask a couple more another question from the audience. And this one is about city government. And please describe your view of local government.
My view of local government is that we are in place to assist the citizens of the community, because without the citizens of the community, there wouldn't be a city, there wouldn't be a government. And so our role, as far as government is concerned, is to assist them.
Okay, thank you. We are zipping right through a lot of questions. We'll do the League again, and then the Post Bulletin and the Chamber. So I'm going to start with the League this time. What do you see as the pluses and minuses of the Unified Development Code, the UDC, the city zoning ordinance, currently being developed?
I'll be totally honest with you. I don't know a great deal about that at this time, so I will reserve my comments on that.
Okay. And I'm going to turn it over to Randy Peterson from the Post Bulletin to ask the next question.
You've mentioned the city's public safety budget should not be cut. Do you believe the police department currently has the resources it needs?
I do not. I think that the police department does need to be beefed up, and we need to support them more. Earlier today, I was remembering a conversation I had had with a police officer just about a year ago, in which he told me, we are not equipped for what's coming. When you increase the population, you increase crime exponentially. And as such, the burden on them is going to increase. And so they're going to need our support.
Thanks. Another question for you, Candidate Cepeda, and this will be from Ryan Parsons with the Chamber.
Yes. As Rochester continues to grow and develop, communication is key, not only with residents, but businesses as well. We can see that through some various infrastructure projects, things along those lines. So as Rochester continues to develop, if we look at the business side of things, what strategy do you view as potentially being effective in keeping that communication very clear with the business community as the area begins to develop?
So it will be my intention to be in close communication with our business leaders in Ward 1. Again, with the pandemic and all of that, I mean, they having to close, and then the restrictions that they were under, they are trying to recover as well. And as such, we need, as a city, we need to do what we can to help them get back on their feet, to help them thrive. And so what we need to do is we need to support them.
Thank you. We'll ask about, we have about 4 more questions here, 4 or 5 more questions, if that's okay. And then we'll move into closing statements, okay? If that's fine with you. The next ones are going to be from the League. We've asked all the audience questions that we have so far. And this is going to be on homelessness and affordable workforce. So affordable workforce housing and unsheltered homeless residents have been issues for years. What is the city's responsibility, and what do you propose to do?
Great question, and it's actually something that I'm currently doing as a job. So the city needs to continue partnering with those organizations that are helping the homeless and that are helping those who need jobs. As we continue to partner with those people, we position them, get them into a better place where they become better contributors to the city and to the community.
Thanks. And another question for you, candidate Cepeda. And this was asked the other night to the mayor's candidates. How can city government help downtown businesses recover from the ongoing impacts of the pandemic?
Cut their taxes. I mean, again, we can't live off the backs of these guys. And so we need to cut their taxes. We need to provide incentives for them so that they will continue to grow and thrive.
Okay, thank you. And this one was from the League, just turned in tonight. What actions will you take, or this one is about sustainable Rochester. What actions will you take to promote sustainable green energy use in Rochester?
Once again, I think Rochester is doing a great job in terms of green energy. So I think that we are on a good trajectory there, and I think that we need to continue that.
Okay, thank you. And does the Post Bulletin or Chamber? Okay, I have a couple more, and then we'll go to closing statements. What do you believe needs to be prioritized with the park and recreation funding?
Say that again.
So what do you believe needs to be prioritized with park and recreation funding?
As far as park and recreation funding is concerned, public safety should be number one in terms of the roads, the bike trails, and these kinds of things. Making sure that everybody is safe, making sure that these are patrolled by our police force. So I think that would definitely need to be the priority.
Okay, thank you. Last question, unless there's any more from the audience. If not, how will you work with the community and the police to promote public safety throughout the city?
So working with the police and the community, you just get together and you talk and you have real conversations with them, both sides. You address what the issues may be, and you have real conversations with these people. I don't think that either side is, in terms of police and the community, I don't think that either side is unapproachable. I think that as we continue talking and communicating, we can work through a lot of stuff.
Okay, thank you. There are no more questions, so we will move on to closing statements. And I will go ahead and give you 2 minutes. Okay, and this gives you a few minutes to a minute or two, because you've been talking all the forum. And we just review them to make sure that they're not a personal attack or something like that. Okay, thank you. Define green energy, define net zero.
Green energy is energy that is emissions efficient and these kinds of things. As far as net zero is concerned, once again, I'm going to reserve my comment on that because I'm not exactly sure what that is.
Fair. Thank you. And now we will move on to closing statement. And you have 2 minutes to present your closing statement. And go ahead when you're ready.
So once again, my name is Dan Cepeda. I am running for Ward 1. Fiscal responsibility, transparency, and being your voice. I think that we can do better to the City Council. I will do better in terms of being transparent with the citizens of Ward 1. I will hold bi-monthly Zoom meetings. We will discuss the issues. I want to bring your vote to the table, and as such, that is what I plan to do. So I'm asking for your vote in the primary and in the general election. My name is Dan Cepeda, and I'm running for City Council, Ward 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I would like to thank each of the candidates for participating in tonight's forum, for the candidates that submitted a closing statement to be read by Ginny Amundsen by the League. Thank you for your service to the community and for your willingness to participate in the democratic process and for running for office. I would like to remind you that the views expressed in the forum tonight were those of the candidates, not those of LWV Rochester or any partner or sponsor of the forum. Thank you all for coming tonight. I remind people that the primary election day is Tuesday, August 9th, and that early voting has started already. If you have voted by absentee ballot and would like to change your ballot based on what you learned tonight, visit minvotes.org for more information on the process. Please remember to vote, and if you have questions about your polling place, I just talked to somebody who tonight had a change in their polling place, and you would like to see your sample ballot or learn more about the candidates, visit Vote 411. There's information on the seat that you were sitting on about Vote 411, and you can just put in your name and address, and it'll pull up your ballot. And also, the candidates, Peta, you answered our questions. We had 3 questions on there, and so did candidate Keene, and the other candidate Hemingway. So those, if you want to know more about the 3 candidates that are running for Ward 1, you can check out Vote 411. Let's see if there's anything. See, an election information brochure, which you were handed when you came in, has information about not only the primary elections that we're holding tonight, but also the general election, which comes up in November, and we will be having forums again about that. And you can find out more information in here. And we want to thank everybody. Good night, and have a good night. Thank you, and thank you again.